Alright, so the next spell is a 3rd level spell, requires concentration.
Okay.
Wisdom saving throw.
Okay, that can be a biggie.
Hypnotic Pattern.
Whew. Hypnotic Pattern is a very interesting spell because that's the one that makes him go stupid.
Yeah, and it's once you fail this save, there is no more saves, and someone either the creature has to be hit,
Yep.
or they have to be shaken. Someone has to spend their action to physically shake that person awake.
Also, the cool thing about Hypnotic Pattern is it doesn't care about friend or foe. It is whoever's in it is affected by it. So that one requires on the players, sometimes on your case, a really good placement of the spell, a really good understanding of who is where and who's the real threat. So one way of getting around this is making sure that the thing that they would want to Hypnotic Pattern and lock into place is right in the middle of them. If you have players that are constantly going, okay, Hypnotic Pattern, well, just get that really fast, elusive creature, roguish type that can deal damage up close, or that disgusting fighter that you've made that everybody knows, oh yeah, that guy's not that bright, but he's a beast. Just get him right up next to him. Well, they're not going to Hypnotic Pattern you if they could possibly catch themselves in their own Hypnotic Pattern, because nothing annoys another player more than when their friendly fires.
Yeah.
That's the best way to counter the spell, is just make it not worth their time to do it. Make it backfire.
Yeah, but yeah, the problems a lot of DMs are having with this spell is that there'll be a group of enemies. The player runs up, casts the spell, gets everybody. What the party does is, at this point in time, is they run up and they all ready actions. Bam, drop that one. Go to the next one. Ready actions. Bam, drop that one, and they repeat until they're all dead.
So
that's like the biggest problem that a lot of DMs are seeing.
So then, if this is continually happening, why are you putting all your enemies, and now we're going to get into tactics, why are you constantly putting all your enemies into a group, an area, that they can be hit by this repeatedly? So we'll take a dungeon, for instance. A dungeon has several different pathways and usually has several different rooms and chambers it can be in. Well, you can have a chamber with, we'll just use 4 orcs, right? 4 orcs are in this chamber.
Right.
Well, let's Hypnotic Pattern these orcs. One of these is a chieftain, one of these is a shaman. Let's Hypnotic Pattern and go beat them up. Well, there are 3 other passageways out of this chamber. On the other sides of those doors, where these things can't see that Hypnotic Pattern, are more orcs, or a ogre, or another caster, maybe some special warlock that you've come up with, and he just walks in and says, okay, that's cool, and then shoots them for trying to pull off this Hypnotic Pattern, or just attacks them. So you can have backup people coming in. Mm-hmm. Also, isn't this a dispellable effect?
If you dispel it, you have to dispel it one person at a time.
One person at a time.
Just like with another spell we're going to get to later.
Hey, so anti-magic field, wouldn't that work on it? Would that get rid of all the effects?
Yes, it would.
Well, there you go. High level, 8th level spell, just to get rid of it all. The Hypnotic Pattern's doesn't matter if you can just stop it. But that's not a good way of getting rid of it.
I think maybe
I honestly think
you could probably have a wizard, because if they take damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could do like a low-level AoE,
yeah,
and just hit people, or you could just magic missile, bam, bam, bam.
Absolutely.
They took at most 5, anywhere from 2 to 5 damage.
Yeah,
and they're back in the fight.
Yeah, why not? Why? Especially if you're some evil mastermind, why would you? Why wouldn't you shoot your minions so they get back in the fight? I mean, every evil mastermind generally would do that anyway. Why not? You're going to prod them to go. protect me.
There's the good reason for the if you're fighting against a Dragonborn to use their breath weapon. They can hit multiple people. They can wake them all up.
Yeah.
And the breath weapons usually don't do that much damage.
Right. And isn't this a charm effect?
Yes.
It's a charm effect. So there's lots of things that are resistant or immune to charm.
Mm-hmm.
Undead don't get, well, no, some undead get charmed.
In 5th edition,
yeah.
undead can be charmed.
Undead can be charmed. But there are several creatures out there that can be charmed. So throw a few of those things that have resistance to this or are blind, so that they can't see the hypnotic pattern, they can't be affected by hypnotic pattern. So,
right.
You know, just have a creature that doesn't need to rely on sight to catch them. You know,
something with tremor sense.
Something with tremor sense, and have it close its eyes. Your players are going to be frustrated, but then again, you have a creature that has tremor sense. I'm pretty sure it would use
like
its
an
tremor
ant hag or a bullet.
Yeah, it's going to use its tremor sense more likely than it's going to use its eyes anyway. I
don't even know if those creatures have tremor sense.
Ankeg does. Yes.
Ankeg does.
And that's how it finds its prey. Burrows on the ground, feels the tremors above, and pops up. And
I know I've used both those creatures. I just didn't remember if they had tremor sense or not. But I know they burrow and come up.
Right. So this one is just more tactics based. Just don't let your players continually do the same thing over and over and over again. That's silly. That's insane. That's the definition of insanity, to do the same thing and expect a different result. Change it up. Put different creatures in there. Make one of those creatures move into the middle of them and just make it where they have to do the same thing to themselves if they want to pull it off. And they'll stop. They'll eventually have to figure something else out.
Yeah.
All right, next one.
Next spell is a 2nd level spell. Also, every one of these spells requires concentration. I just noticed this.
Okay, so the biggest counterspell to all of this is hit them.
But no, again, it's hard to break that concentration.
Hard to break that concentration.
DC 10 most of the time, and if they have combat casting, even bigger problem.
If they want to take a feat to do that, then that's on them if they want to do that. But yet again, you have minions. You have the ability to pull off lots of attacks in a turn, and at some point they're gonna fail. Just hit them. Yeah. It just takes a hit, and then see if they fail.
2nd level spell, Darkness.
Darkness.
So the biggest problem that a lot of DMs are seeing with this is obviously the Devil Sight Warlock, who is casting darkness, staying in the darkness, and either Eldritch Blasting or getting advantage on all their hits because nobody can see them, or they actually will cast darkness on their weapon, sheath it, go into an area, and then unsheath it, and that's when the darkness spreads out.
Which is extremely clever. I mean, the first counter to that is Daylight, but not everything has access to a 3rd level spell, Daylight.
Yeah.
Yet again, another thing, if a creature doesn't need sight to hit, or there's certain creatures that could actually, you could say, well, they use their smell or whatever to find you and catch you. Because a lot of players say, well, you can't see me, you can't hit me.
Well, it's more about the fact of disadvantage.
Right. But I've heard that complaint many times, especially at my store. It's like, well, if you can't see me, how are you going to find me to hit me? It's like, well, I still know where you're at.
Well, in the rules of D&D, and if you're not moving silently, which is moving at half your speed, and then people know generally where you are, and if you cast a spell or make an attack with the attack action, you give away your position. So general idea, know where you're at, just disadvantage to attack you. Okay.
So really, this is only one class pulling this off repeatedly. It's the Warlock, right?
No, most likely, yes.
It's not really going to be. It's other classes would take time to get where they could do this.
I'm sure if the new feats come into a book,
you get the Warlock invocation for Devil Sight.
No, blind fighting. Isn't blind fighting in the new feats?
One of the, a few months ago, there was something that allowed you to do blind fighting.
If that gets in there, I mean...
But darkness is also a dispellable effect.
Yes.
It's there. So, Dispel Magic, also unfortunately a 3rd level spell. Just like Daylight.
Yeah.
But there's ways of getting around it. Tactically, creatures could just yet again move away from it. Like, you know where you came from. Yes, you would probably be disoriented, but you know where you came from, and it wasn't that long ago. Why don't you just back out of the darkness and then just be defensive? Well, if a warlock is shooting at you repeatedly and you're being defensive, well, he's no longer going to have advantage to hit you because you're not in the darkness. You're outside of that darkness.
Well, he still does have advantage to hit you. You can, even if you are defensive or dodging, you only it only grants disadvantage if you can see the target.
Okay.
So you don't. So the person attacking you doesn't get disadvantage because Warlock, Devil Sight, they can see you.
So
it's not like
hide behind something then.
Yeah, well, man, that actually wouldn't even work because even if you are outside of the darkness, he still has advantage to blast on you because you can't see him.
You can also just tackle him. Grapple's a great way to stop a range caster. Yeah. You know where he's at. And most casters don't have great abilities to get out of it. Just grapple and hold him down until he stops.
Yeah.
You know, grapple is a very underused mechanic in the game because most people don't think it's that great. But when you can grab them and make them use another spell, like if they have to use their Misty Step to get away from it because you grabbed them and made it where now their advantage is gone because they're going to be shooting at disadvantage or something, then you're making them waste their materials, their slots, their things to get away from you, and they're not hurting you or your creatures anymore. So make them waste it. If they want to pop off that same trick every time, then okay, well, how about this? This is a long con, all right? That warlock pulls off that trick. Well, goblins get afraid when they can't hurt something. Well, a goblin gets away. Well, a goblin tells of that trick to the next thing. And then you make it plain. You let the goblins know, because goblins talk a lot. Oh, we know about the one that does darkness. Don't let them do it again. Well, they try to do it again.
Or just hurl bolts in there.
Yeah, just throw whatever you can in there. Do something destructive at them. Throw them off the game.
Cocktails come flying into the darkness.
Yeah, this is another case of stop. Don't let your creatures be dumb to what the players can do. They can learn. Now, if your players are extremely smart and tactical, and they're pulling off these great strategies every freaking time on you, and even though you might change it up, they're still doing it. Don't be mad at them. These players are playing together, creating a cohesive team that is working.
Yeah.
Like,
well, also because D&D is not players versus the DM.
No,
everyone's playing together, creating good stories.
Yeah, that's the overarching idea behind this. Is why are you mad that your players are finding cool ways of doing this? You're giving them a situation as
it's more like that. Not to cut off on that, but like if your players are creating good inventive ways, it's more like this is what they're doing every single combat, every single turn.
Right.
Which, again, okay, he's in the darkness. Go focus on the other players.
Yeah.
That person's in the darkness and...
ignore him.
Yeah, like...
If he's the last one alive and you've already beat up their fighter, their cleric, and their druid, and there's only a rogue and the warlock left in the darkness...
Or the sorcerer who's the shadow sorcerer.
Or a sorcerer who's shadow sorcerer, whatever, sitting in the darkness waiting for fight. Well, you still could have had 10 different creatures there. And now there's only 2 of them left. And they can't come out of this darkness for afraid of getting beat up. Well, it's going to be a problem for them. Eventually.
Yeah.
This spell, just don't let them do it to you over and over and over again. Change up your tactics.
The next one is Fog Cloud, but it's essentially for the same reasons.
Okay. Yeah. In fact, fog cloud is less of a hassle than darkness. Fog
actually
cloud
is a bigger area.
bigger area, but it's also affected by wind.
Yeah.
So blow it away. There's casters. There's large creatures could have the capability of maybe blowing it away.
It also affects the players too.
Right.
It's like I don't understand how this one made the list. There was a lot of complaints about it, but again, Fog Cloud is total concealment. So like you can't even target people with magic missile in Fog Cloud. So like I don't understand why a lot of people are having problems with this. But I mean,
I don't.
The classics: Dispel Magic, Run Out of the Area.
Yeah, this is becoming a trend that apparently not figuring it out. Run out of the area.
Yeah.
Look, Fog Cloud is not that bad. Nobody should complain about this spell. Just that one, perfectly fine. If your players want to Fog Cloud every time and also make it hard for them to hurt you, then cool. That's fine. Also gives you time to take your creatures and hide them in different spots. If you're playing on battle mats, you can go, okay, you Fog Cloud them. Can anybody see where those creatures are right now? No? Cool. I'm going to pick them up all off the map. And when you run through there, you can now find out where they happen to be.
Yeah.
I've done that before. I for sure picked up a model that they couldn't see anymore, and then when they found out where it was, plopped it back down and attacked them because it was ready for when they ran out of the Fog Cloud.
So I don't see that much of a problem with that one.
That one's not.
Yeah. All right, so those are 6 spells that a lot of DMs have problems with, and those are ways that we found out that you could deal with those spells or your players using those spells. I've got 6 more spells on the list that we'll get to in our next video.
Yeah. So hey, DMs, move your people. Don't keep them in the same area. All 6 of these spells are area effects. Move them. Spread them out.
You can also play the same tricks on your own on the players. It's not like an enemy wouldn't do the same thing.
Turn it around. They hate that, and it's good. It's fun to watch when they squirm under their own tricks.
Also, all of these spells required concentration. You could easily use a first level spell, Command, Wisdom saving throw, Unconcentrate. Spell's gone.
Command won't work because it tells them either sit, run, or
no. That's a list of words. You can easily the word has to be one word. As long as you say one word, they have to abide by that. So you could say unconcentrate, and then they have to drop the concentration.
That's an interesting thought. I mean, it could work
because you don't have to follow the list of words that they have. Those are just example words.
Okay. Yeah.
It'd be like a bard being like, "Oh, you didn't think my joke was funny? Laugh." It's not on that list, but why wouldn't Command make that person laugh?
I guess that's
or
true.
Clap. Hey.
Yeah,
I didn't want to do this, but I failed my wisdom save. I hate you.
That's true. I guess there's nothing saying they couldn't do that. But yeah. Anyway, next time we'll go over some more spells. If you like what you saw, like and subscribe. Got any questions for us, or if you feel like we're wrong, which is perfectly okay, let us know. I mean, discussing how these spells could be used to a better extent or changed, it helps everybody have more fun. So just let us know in the comments.
All right, until then, have fun gaming.
See ya.